Hello, my dear listeners. In this video today, I will talk about the future outcomes from the U.S. The Ukrainian political and economic crisis. And to do this, I will cover some Russian article about the situation, and I will also give my own opinion what's where this situation is heading. So, first of all, there's a very important information about economic situation of Ukraine you have to know to understand this political crisis, because Ukraine economy has been in decline in the past 2 years, and right now basically because they have some debts which is not are that significant. According to this article, it's about 60 billion, equivalent to 60 billion US dollars, but those debts are nominated not in the currency that the country can print, so that makes it so they cannot print basically their way out of the debt. And there is a 9.36 trillion that is due to pay for the 2014 to external creditors. So wherever money Ukraine will receive, there is almost 10 billion immediately goes back to the creditors, and there is a payment of the 3.6 billion that is due to IMF. And according to the other information, in the next 18 months they have to pay 6 billion back to the IMF. So wherever IMF providing money, they basically refinancing existing debts. And you know that the IMF usually insists on the austerities, on cut the social benefits and the government spending, government transfer to the population when wherever country they lend money. Basically, it's they insist on the austerity. And there is also money that is due to Gazprom. And actually Gazprom right now provide Ukraine with the 33% discount on gas, which is huge. This discount can be equal, for my calculation, is about $4 billion per year. And they have a right to cancel this and put the price to international level, where everybody is paying, if they decide. They have a right to cancel this discount every quarter. So there is $1.6 billion that due to Gazprom right now, according to this article, and by other estimates, it's more. Well, there is actually also internal obligation, because the Yanukovych government being very generous compared to the revenues of the country and making some social promises. Which is about equivalent of $6 billion for the next year. There is nothing about the revenues. Unfortunately, it's very hard to say how bad it is, because you have to know the revenues. I heard the statistics that the average revenue per capita in Ukraine right now is equivalent of $3,000. But you have to understand also that because it is the currency that they're using is severely devalued, so maybe $3,000 in Ukraine, maybe it buys equivalent of $20,000 in US. So when you hear those figures, you have to understand with the reality on the ground. But it's probably not that much. So it's very difficult economic situation really, because they're getting close to global level of the energy prices, global level of the food prices. So you have basically, we are now getting everything is getting priced pretty much equally globally. But about the U.S. debt, Ukrainian debt, sorry, my observation is so 60 billion divided by 45 million of population, it's about $1,333 per capita. And in Canada, it's about 60 billion. and divided by the population of 33 million people, it's $18,000 per capita. So in Canada, we are nominally 13.5 times more in debt than average Ukrainian citizen. But because of the political crisis, they're talking about the default. Now, very important that you have to know that the Russia give very bad press to Yanukovych. So he's a failed politician. He's compromised himself with corruption. His party actually is dissolving himself. And there is 77 members that voluntarily surrender their mandates in Ukrainian parliament. So there's going to be the re-election, and Russia is not, according to the articles here, they even liked the Lukashenko, take power in Ukraine. But I don't think they win because she can, all old people, they compromise themselves. Some history, a recent history about Ukraine politics. In 2004, they had the Orange Revolution, and after the Orange Revolution, they get the gas crisis, they got gasoline prices up, and they had the economical crisis, which allowed to Yanukovych party make some gains and come to power after 2006. Okay, so the pro-Russian party usually recently came after the Orange Revolution. So now, what is those articles are stating about the political position of the Russia? They basically sitting on the side and waiting. The article already says that usually the economy get very bad after those kind of type of revolutions, and the same people who put those pro-Euro government in power, they will demand their dismissal after they disappoint them, which is most likely is going to happen. So there's going to be election in May, but this government is going to be very weak and it's going to be very corrupt, and it's not going to have the resources to honor any promises, and the situation is going to get worse. And the next government will be most likely more orientated to Russia, because according to lots of Western press, even Europe doesn't have the money. They're promising 35 billion, which is almost most of this money has to immediately go back. There is not going to be money paid. They're basically refinancing existing debts. It's not that this money is going to be reinvested in the economy in form of the credit to the most productive businesses. It's money to pay the interest on existing debts, to pay capital principal on existing debts, and to buy a grocery, basically. After it's going to be spent, they're going to be more in debt, and they will have to default. And about this European deal, the Ukraine economy is based on agriculture, and if they enter the EU, they won't be able to sell their products to the EU. It's not that it's the EU that will come and will force them to buy their products more expensive. So it was rejected already for the economic reason in November, their offer. So if they're going to accept it now in a worse economic situation, it's very obviously. I understand Putin is very, very smart. He's not intervening. He's sitting. He's going to let the bureaucrats take over. And after the disappointing situation, there will be some new people. And Russia, originally there is a ties that is very strong with Ukraine. And you have some situation going in the Crimea right now on the Black Sea. They're not going to even recognize this new pro-European government, because there is a very large portion of the Russian population there. And people they understand what's if you want to see what is the takeover of the AU and the IMF it's only leads to deterioration of the standards of living for the majority of population, more corruption and loss of sovereignty, and there is no long-term really prosperity based on that. The only thing I can think of, if people of Ukraine, they are thinking that they're gonna get the European passport will allow them to travel more freely. So there's more people that's gonna flee, you know, in this period, the country. for now, it's already happening because the population of Ukraine, I believe, was 55 million at some point. I'm not sure when, but now it's only 45 million. So there was a huge decline already, and it's only going to get worse. And my basically conclusion from all of this observation, it's bad outcomes to cause because the citizens surrendered their power to centralized governments. You know, those representative governments are obsolete now. We have to have a kind of sort of the Bitcoin in the political system. You know, we have a new way of seeing money that is emerged in the past 2 years in the global financial system. But we need also experience more and discover more flexible political models where the citizen really get more responsibility, more participation in legislative and in the ruling process, in controlling the government spending, in decide how taxes, you know, is going to be spent, which are the priorities. It's not very good idea to mandate your power to any sort of the representative. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't see very fast reversal to this more flexible and more citizen-oriented model because the politics now are global. But more and more countries fails. I think we have, you know, Egypt, we have Middle East now. We have some, you know, Central American like Venezuela, and basically European Union, it's on the verge of the political crisis. Eventually we're going to get some new political model emerge from that, because what happened in any crisis, it's foreign interests that intervene, and you get under the big international institution who basically put puppet governments, and the country lose their sovereignty. So it's after the crisis, you're not getting decentralized, you're getting even more centralized. Now you get run by foreign interests. So it's a very dire situation, but we have to go through this crisis, like, you know, monetary experiences with the Bitcoin. And I don't think the new political models will show a short-term success once they appear. But there is something that has to be done. Thanks for watching, and please comment and share your opinions.